I don't know about you, but I love to hear about success stories in the video game industry for games and development studios that actually deserve it. I couldn't be more proud of the developers behind Monster Hunter World for managing to sell 7 million copies in just a little over a month, making it the fastest selling game in Capcom history. Not to mention that the game received universal acclaim from critics and players alike. It's generally agreed upon that Monster Hunter World is simply a fantastic game that takes advantage of the powerful hardware of current-gen home consoles to make sensible improvements upon the strong foundation of the series with no strings or bullshit attached. Another great success story worth highlighting is Horizon Zero Dawn, the PlayStation 4 exclusive open-world action-adventure RPG game. When Horizon launched over a year ago on February 28, 2017, it too garnered accolades across the board, and it doesn't take much to see why. The game is incredibly gorgeous, it's got a fantastic and engaging story with great characters, the world is dense, lush, and compelling, combat against the animalistic mechas is enthralling, and the list just goes on and on. Now, for Guerrilla Games, moving away from their bread and butter, the Killzone series was undoubtedly a risky venture. This is especially true when you consider that they were creating an entirely new IP and working with a genre of games they had never done before. But when they first showed the game off at E3 2015, gamers around the world were immediately captivated by what they saw. There was simply nothing quite like it. This would all culminate in the game selling 2.6 million copies in its first 2 weeks following its February 28, 2017 release, and 3.4 million copies by June 2017. Now, you would think that by this point, the game's sales would begin to lose momentum and stabilize, but fast forward to exactly a year later after the game's launch, February 28, 2018, and Sony announced that Horizon is celebrating its anniversary with a whopping 7.6 million copies sold. That's right, folks, since June 2017, the game has more than doubled its sales figures. While Guerrilla Games did expect a moderate level of success, they did not foresee that the game would gain this much traction, as noted by their statement on the matter, which reads, quote, "It's hard to believe that a full year has passed since we released Horizon Zero Dawn. The old adage, time flies when you're having fun, certainly rings true for us. These last 12 months have been an absolute blast, thanks in no small part to the terrific response from our fan community. And yet, so much has happened that the actual launch of Horizon Zero Dawn sometimes feels like a distant memory. The positive critical reception, the explosive rise of fan artists, cosplayers, and photo mode experts, the rollout of patches containing new functionality, the release of the Frozen Wilds and the Complete Edition, the various awards and honors bestowed on Horizon Zero Dawn and its creators. All of these occurred in such rapid succession that we are still trying to wrap our heads around them. The latest news to reach us is that Horizon Zero Dawn has sold more than 7.6 million copies worldwide, making it the best-selling new first-party franchise launch on PlayStation 4 as of February 28th. To quote Guerrilla's co-founder and managing director Herman Hulst, "We had huge ambition for Horizon Zero Dawn, and as we approached the launch, we knew people were excited, but to see sales of this volume is truly mind-blowing. Since launch, millions of players have joined Aloy on a quest to discover the secrets of the old ones. We hope they enjoy playing Horizon Zero Dawn as much as we enjoyed making it." What else is there to say beyond that if you present gamers with something appealing and compelling and make good on your promises for a game, they will flock towards it. That's exactly what Horizon Zero Dawn represents. It is an immaculate game that hits all the right notes in terms of appeal and quality and pulls none of the bullshit that the greedy side of the gaming industry has been trying to get away with. It is just a good-ass game with artistic and gameplay integrity at the forefront, one that hasn't been tarnished by publishers' greedy intents. It's one of the reasons that Sony has garnered so much respect lately as a publisher. They have this commitment towards great first-party titles that prioritize player experience above all else. They let their studios go wild with their creativity and don't try to hamper them in any way through purely financially driven decisions, and the results speak for themselves. But what especially makes Horizon Horizon Zero Dawn's landmark sales achievement such a big deal is that it goes to show that single-player games are nowhere near close to dying, unlike what companies like EA would have you believe. There's this widespread notion that live services is the future of games, that single-player games are a dying breed, but games like Horizon Zero Dawn prove that this couldn't be further from the truth. Games like Zelda Breath of the Wild, which sold 8 million copies, Mario Odyssey, which will soon surpass 10 million copies, Uncharted 4, which sold close to 9 million copies, so on and so forth, prove this notion wrong. Sure, these games won't make as much money as they could have had they included in-game purchases, but it's safe to say that they will still handsomely make their money back and then some, and that's good enough. But for companies like EA who talk about how you gotta cut the bridge when you realize you can't make a lot of money on something to justify decisions like shutting down Visceral and taking over their single-player action-adventure story-driven Star Wars game to turn it into something that more closely resembles a live service, for these kinds of publishers, there is no such thing as good enough. They have to push for uncapped monetization. They have to earn all the money in the world. As EA's Blake Jorgensen himself said in reference to Visceral shutdown and turning their Star Wars project into a live service, it was an economic decision at the end of the day. This is why EA is so detested. Every decision they make, whether it's rushing a game to release or stripping games of their potential through insidiously manipulative loot boxes, is economic. With games like Horizon Zero Dawn, on the other hand, decisions from both publishers and developers were clearly made on the basis of how do we make this the best game possible. Nothing was rushed and game design wasn't compromised in any way for monetary gain. That's not to say that there weren't economically driven decisions involved. Every company has those, but there was a balance between the financial side and the creative side. There was a compromise that allowed the game to be top-notch in quality while still raking in a good chunk of money. Beyond money though, Horizon Zero Dawn gained something far more valuable and priceless, a good reputation, which will go a long way in the long term should Sony and Guerrilla decide to work on a sequel. After all, reputation and positive word of mouth are the foundation of any great franchise. The reason games like Mario, Zelda, Monster Hunter, Uncharted, you name it, continue to sell so well is because of the reputation they have built and maintained over many years. So if Sony and Guerrilla can keep their wits about them and continue focusing on making quality games with integrity, I think their long-term success is all but guaranteed, as the gaming community will be there to have their back in their endeavors. These are just one man's thoughts and opinions anyway. I'd love to hear what your take is on all of this in the comments below. With that, I would like to end this news update. Thank you for tuning in. If you enjoy my content, consider supporting me on Patreon. It is completely optional, but donating even as little as $1 a month will go a long way in helping this channel grow. And to be further updated on all things gaming news, reviews, and discussions, stay tuned right here on Young Yeah. I'll see you guys next time. Young out!